Welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church's online and in-person service. I'm Carrie Brasco, and my pronouns are she and her. I serve as a member of the Board of Trustees. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, encourage spiritual growth, and promote social responsibility while we travel on and care for the earth. Each month, Allen Avenue supports a nonprofit organization whose mission and work aligns with our Unitarian Universalist principles. The Share the Plate recipient for September is Family Promise, a program our congregation is deeply connected to and supports. Family Promise's mission is to help families experiencing homelessness and low-income families achieve sustainable independence through community-based response. If you are new to us today, welcome. We offer religious education programming during the 9 a.m. service. To learn more about that, please fill out the welcome form. The QR code is on service. If you're joining us on Zoom today, please take a moment and introduce yourself and where you are worshiping from this morning.
Good morning, Clay Atkinson.
Well, the first part was more interesting than the bell, but hold on. That will be coming back for an encore. I'm the Reverend Donna Dahlham, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers, and it is my great honor to serve this congregation as minister. Our call to worship words are those of Gretchen Haley. Though you have been warned and given plenty of explanations, reasons to do otherwise, you have persisted to claim a life of joy and justice and to carve out this time for renewal of your own heart. Despite the din demanding your attention, luring you towards fear and cynicism, you persist with gratitude this day. This life that has been given, this chance to begin again, despite all the forces of fragmentation, the disappointing ways we fail each other and fail ourselves. We must refuse to let grief undo us or to let our dreams get lost along the way. In spite of all the evidence, we keep showing up at the edges of our own longing, and then we keep going, remembering this duty we have to life. In a greater sense, this duty we have to each other. This duty we have to our children and our children's children. This hope that is also a choice we make, this promise we fight for, to persist in kindness, to persevere in compassion, and prevail in a life that is bound entirely to love. Come, let us worship together. Thank you, Sam and Dale. I invite Celeste and Norman Stickney forward for the chalice lighting.
Our chalice lighting words this morning are those of Starhawk from the book Lifting Our Voices. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch a glimpse from time to time. Community, somewhere where there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having our words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing. A circle of friends. Someplace we can be free.
I am Emily C. Jones, the Director of Religious Education here at the beautiful Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church. The story is not my own. It is from a UUA curriculum for children and was originally attributed to North American folklore. I couldn't find any more information on the source or the exact peoples, so I acknowledge it may have been altered from the original story. This is called Lizard's Song. There was a lizard who lived on a rock. He was very happy living on his rock. All day long, the lizard would sing the words, "Zoli, Zoli, Zoli, rock is my home." And it sounded like this. Zoli, 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 my rock is my home. One day, a bear saw him sitting on the rock and heard him singing. She wondered why the lizard was so happy, so she asked him, "Why are you so happy?" The lizard said he was happy because he was at home and the rock was a great place to live. "Oh," said Bear. She went back to her home and thought, "I wish I knew that song so I would be as happy as Lizard." The next day, Bear went back to Lizard's rock. She asked Lizard to teach her the song. Lizard said he would be very happy to teach it to her. He sang, "Zoli, Zoli, 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 my rock is my home." That made Bear feel good again. She went home, but on the way, she forgot the song. It's kind of like the opposite of an earworm, couldn't remember. The next day, she went back to Lizard and asked him if he would teach her the song again. Lizard said he would be very happy to teach the song again. And so he sang, "Zoli, Zoli, 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 my rock is my home." Again, Bear went home and again she forgot the song. How can you forget that song? So she went back to Lizard one more time. This time, Lizard was asleep on his warm rock in the sunshine. What could Bear do? She decided to pick Lizard up and put him in a bag. Then she could take Lizard to her home. After his nap, he could teach Bear the song. On the way, Lizard woke up. He did not know where he was. He knew he wasn't at home on the rock. He was very scared. He didn't know what to do. He decided to sing his song so he wouldn't be frightened. "Slowly, slowly, 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 my rock is my home." When Bear got home, she opened the bag. "Where are we?" asked Lizard. "This is my home," said Bear. "I'm sorry if I scared you when I brought you here." Now Lizard saw that Bear didn't live on a rock. Now he understood why Bear couldn't learn the song. He told Bear she couldn't learn the song because she didn't live on a rock. Bear was disappointed. But, Lizard said, I can make you a song that you can learn and remember. He sang, Zoe, 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 my den is my home. Bear learned that song easily and was very happy. As Unitarian Universalists, we share our individual songs, understanding that that is one way we help each other learn and grow together as a community.
Yesterday at open mic, some of the performers said, that's a hard act to follow. That's a hard act to follow. With thanks to Unitarian Universalist minister Eric Wickstrom, I offer this commissioning ritual to you today. According to the American Heritage Dictionary, a commissioning is the act of granting certain powers or authority to carry out a particular task or duty. In many churches, there is a common misperception that the leaders of the church run things, that the board, or some churches call them a council, have all sorts of powers to get things done, and that everyone else kind of coasts along. Some people even think, and I'm pretty sure none of you think this, but some people think that ministers have a special kind of authority. It's not true. Neither of these statements are true. As a congregationally based tradition, all power in Unitarian Universalist churches come up through the congregation and are bestowed upon the leaders, including ordained leaders, to carry out specific service for the good of the whole. Today, we take this reality seriously and formally. We take time to bestow upon our chosen leaders of the board the authority they need to carry out the works of this congregation. This commissioning service is an opportunity to give our blessings to the ministries these folks will provide in the coming year and to affirm their sense of calling to the roles of service they claim and to that which you have elected them. To be sure, there are people who give much to this church of their time and talents. This service is not a replacement for regular acts of gratitude. It is not our attempt to honor all those who serve this community. We seek to affirm those whom we have set apart through election, those who will take upon themselves one of the institutionally recognized positions of serving on our board of trustees. Yet this in itself is no small task. These leaders need our blessing if they are to do the work we have asked them to do. These people need our affirmation and our support, for they're no different than the rest of us, yet they have entered into the ministries of leadership for all of our sakes. I invite now the board members to please come forward. And I invite the rest of you to take out the little piece of paper that says board commissioning. For our Zoom folks at home, Keith is making his way around as well to give you a view. And you'll find the words were included in the long version of the order of service. I'm so glad to have all of you with us today. Now, this is a little tricky and I'm stretching your flexibility. So, Dick, would you raise your hand? From Dick over is the right side. And Rick, would you raise your hand? From Rick over is the left side. And so you'll see that there's instructions in this process. Don't worry about the mistakes. Don't worry about getting the words wrong. Don't worry about talking too loud. So I invite all of you out there to join me in the congregation words. We, the members of this congregation, charge you to be guided by the vision we express in our congregational mission, vision, and by the Unitarian Universalist principles we affirm in common. The right side. Members of the board, you are charged with keeping sight of the big picture from the holding our vision, honoring past and guiding this congregation toward the future. Are you ready and willing to accept this charge? We are. Do you, the members and friends of this congregation, affirm these leaders as volunteers who need your support, your participation, and your appreciation, as well as your care and concern? Your willingness to take on the responsibilities of leadership. We affirm your calling and vow to take part in the ministries everywhere you can. We encourage you to take care of yourselves as you do this for the Lord. And remember that you are part of this community even while you lead us. We commit to engaging in the opportunities and activities you invite us to. We commit to supporting and nurturing you and your families as you serve new roles over the next year. We thank you for your faith in us and vow to do our best to live up to the charge you have given us. We promise to remember that the ultimate responsibility for our congregation lies with all of us, for this is our community. May we all do what we can to create a congregation we can be proud of. Our reading this morning are the words of the Reverend Teresa Soto from their books, Filling the Light. Some people are used to keeping the rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red. Only sensible. It turns out that keeping rules isn't the same as keeping covenant, which asks us, instead of keeping a bright line, to keep our promises. To what have we promised ourselves? To this moment in time and place, to this community, and even tenderly interconnected this planet. We promise ourselves to the idea that we are each and all human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that we cannot tame and cannot measure. The chalice we lit this morning is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. The thing you must be is yourself, unadulterated, shredding the willingness to journey alone as though you are made of something hard and unforgivable. You are human. You belong right here, right now. And together, we will chase away the sickness, the secrets, and leave only the open possibility that the future is a space for growth. Together, each week, our staff, our volunteers create meaningful spiritual experiences Each week, staff and volunteers support religious education and programming, spiritual enrichment groups, and a variety of opportunities like last night's open mic to create community. The funds we receive support all that we do. The morning offering will now be gratefully received. Please note there is a QR code on your order of service that will connect you to the donate button, which will take you to an online giving. Or feel free to contribute to the basket as it's passed around. It was hard to stay seated. Maybe we should just give permission for all of us to do liturgical dance next time. Every Sunday, our welcome includes Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church's mission statement. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, encourage spiritual growth, and promote social responsibility while we travel on and care for the earth. What you don't hear quite as often is the vision statement born out of the most recent time of ministerial transition for this congregation. Between ministries, the Unitarian Universalism Association has an intentional time of review that happens between settled ministries. During this time, A2U2, our community, went through a period of self-examination, a rebirth of experimentation, as well as a period of grieving, anticipation, and adaptability. It's often referred to as interim ministry. During the interim ministry, cottage meetings were held, inviting all those who were here at the time and wanted to engage in discussions that eventually led to this overall vision statement. And just what is it that this congregation wanted to focus on? Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church wishes to be a cross-generational, interconnected, larger, and more diverse community. This statement is just one of the things that drew me to submit, electronically throw my name in the hat for consideration as your next settled minister. I thought, oh my goodness, these are people I want to be with if this is what they want to do. Becoming cross-generational, interconnected, and more diverse is something I want to be part of. Coming up with this is not something that anyone on the interim ministry transitions team would say was a breeze. It took lots of meetings and outlines and facilitation guides and discussion, as well as organizing the actual groups for discussion. And then, of course, there was collating the responses shared by the community. If you ask the members of that team, and if you'd raise your hand if you're here, Nancy Cunningham, raising her hand back there, Jamie Eller, Barbara Freeman, Dave Jurors, Mike Luce, thank you for your service. I'm sure you each have a story to tell about the labor of love it took to pull off the work you did during the interim ministry. The transition team reported that the underlying mood of all the suggestions that came in through those meetings was try it, be comfortable experimenting, ask for feedback regularly, keep what works and change what doesn't. Sounds easy, right? But it won't happen unless we do the intentional work to support a culture and a structure that embodies the vision. The title of the report is especially fitting this year, Nurturing Our Roots and Branches. As we enter into a year of celebrating the deepest roots of this congregation, beginning 200 years ago. None of us would have anticipated, and certainly our founders would not have anticipated, that over the last year and a half as a congregation, we would have to examine the reality of being a church beyond the building, being a church beyond the parking lot. Perhaps the founders would have been proud that we persisted, that despite a lure toward overwhelming and paralyzing fear, we persisted, claiming moments of joy and continuing to work for justice. The statement is not quite a covenant, but it is an intention, a conviction, a promise of sorts that requires interdependence and leans into our Unitarian Universalist polity. Cross-generational, interconnected, and more diverse. The Unitarian Universalist website section on interdependence and polity says, and I quote, "One of the deepest convictions that unites us as Unitarian Universalists is a belief in the possibility of a beloved community among people, whether members of a family or the most diverse representatives of humanity. We affirm that such communities are in part a natural outgrowth of human life, but that they must also be deliberately formed and reformed, nurtured and re-nurtured." James Luther Adams spoke of the covenant of being. We seek a way of being in the present that leads us toward our future. A primary way we try to embody our spiritual vision through congregational meetings, Zoom, face-to-face, joyous fun, even though we got rained on last night. We want our religious community and network of relationships to extend beyond those who are here and those who are on Zoom. We want healthy, good human relationships throughout life. The Commission believes that we should honor the congregational heritage of the Cambridge Platform of 1648, recognizing that it upheld a vision not simply of congregational autonomy, but as Conrad Wright emphasizes, of community of autonomous congregations. We are an association of congregations. There is inherent tension between the concepts of community and autonomy, similar to the often expressed tension between responsibility and freedom. Community and autonomy do not exclude one another, but enhance the whole. This year's report of the Unitarian Universalist Association's Commission on Appraisal, published just this last June, is titled Unlocking the Power of Covenant. And it invites us to engaging more deeply as a congregation the polity that our faith is built on. And watch your e-blast. There will be an upcoming invitation to join in a study group coming to a congregation near you. If we are not promising ourselves to the same spiritual path, the same doctrine, what are we promising ourselves to? Now, this is a question for congregations, communities, workplaces, and families. Kate, my spouse, and I were together about 15 years before we were legally able to and chose at the same time to become legally married. Now, after 15 years, we've kind of gotten in our routine and had bought lots of things that would be difficult to get out of together. But there we were on the porch having this discussion about, should we get married or not? Are we really going to stay together? What does it mean? All the things we've been taught, ingrained in our minds and hearts, and it held in our conversation. Well, we did decide, after actually quite an extensive conversation, that we would stay together and we would take advantage of all of those civil rights that were wrapped up in legal marriage. A relationship vision we renewed that day on the porch. As a congregation, we have that opportunity to renew our congregational vision, to develop a covenant, and it's not simple work. No promise or intentional covenant ever is. Certainly, this time of COVID has not and will not be simple. Brian Andreas says anyone can slay a dragon, but try waking up every morning and loving the world all over again. And some of what you've shared about the memorial for Catherine Stead yesterday reflected that that was one of her practices. To wake up every morning and love the world again. Whether we're talking about an individual relationship, a congregation, a community, or a nation, this promise of loving all over again day after day requires spiritual practice that is best accomplished in community. A community who promise together with encouragement, compassion, understanding, a community where space is offered that is big enough to hold all we bring together. Our grief, loss, hopes, love, anger, disappointment, belief in tomorrow. This time will continue to stretch us beyond what we thought was possible. COVID calls us to embrace the imperfection that is required for the kind of experimenting that you all agreed to do before I ever showed up. I was so glad about that. Last week, I talked about how to water ski and my experience with that, but what I didn't tell you was how I fell over at least 100 times, if not more, with a full face of water before I finally made it around the pond. The spiritual practice of being a community requires a willingness to live into imperfection. The past year, whether you have signed on to Zoom or not, we have made church happen. We have run art groups. We have had religious education story time for the littlest among us, while also holding youth group for senior and junior youth. Volunteers and staff have continued to innovate how to move our process and functioning into the 21st century. What is possible? And there were glitches, Zoom links that didn't work, service video and audios that didn't quite line up. When you hear the voice and a few seconds later you see the lips moving, it's a little bit of a surreal and discombobulating experience. We had video sequences that didn't line up the way that we thought they would. And let's not forget making it 3/4 of the way through a service before I remembered to light the chalice. I've learned to embrace a ministry of imperfection. It's a framework inviting something that is a new experiment. Last week, we celebrated our coming together with our water ceremony, the water that now is collected in the bowl, holding our joys and sorrows. We brought all we have to share and all we are together, bringing our song, as Emily so eloquently sang just moments ago. We brought hopes and grief, imaginations, struggles, celebration, and possibilities. Many of us have made major life changes over these last year and a half. The need to move to a new community, changing jobs, parenting, while also working, holding more than one can imagine, stretching our flexibility. I wonder, how will we continue to emerge as individuals, as family, as a congregation? I'd like to share an excerpt from a fairly new book, Shelter in Place Meditations on 2020. There's a piece in this book by the Reverend Emily Wright Lagoon titled Portal. Arundhati Roy states, "The pandemic is a portal." Has this ever happened to you? You move from where you are to go get something in the next room. Maybe you're looking for the TV remote or about to make a snack. In my case, it might be get my hearing aids. You walk through the doorway and suddenly you have completely forgotten what you were looking for. Psychologists call this the doorway effect. Walking through open doors, crossing a threshold, resets the memory to make room for the creation of a new episode. Living through COVID will take us time to heal as individuals and as a whole community. And we will continue to grow while we make our way over the threshold. May this time bring all our songs together. And for those of you who were receiving the Church at Home packet that included the puzzle pieces, and this puzzle was created by Tegan Moon, who is now off to college, we're going to work on puzzling the pieces together. However, there's always room for more puzzle pieces. So if you yourself did not get the Church at Home, or if you've just joined us or lost yours, I have some extra envelopes here for you. Our puzzle will always have room for more. I am so glad to be on this journey with you. Thank you. I think exuberant clapping is spiritual. I just want you to know that. As we extinguish the flame of our chalice, remember to let your light spill out and lead the way forward for this whole community. You belong, you are loved, and there is a place for you here. And chair dancing is spiritual too. Please greet your neighbors in peace.